you. We want to see your face. You can do better than that, Pete. One row.
All right. I think you're gonna have to settle. I think you're gonna have to settle that.
Yep.
It was a really good effort.
It did. We got something.
It did.
They gave us one in, but we'll take it. Okay. Hey, everybody. Welcome to launch on Sunday evening. Hello from the back. You guys ready over there? All right. Welcome to launch. As we pass out the pamphlets, please take some moments to prepare your hearts for worship.
Alrighty, guys. Thank you again for coming. My name's Angelo. I'm the worship leader. So I'm going to get us started off with some music. But first, let me just pray to open up our time. Dear God, I just thank you for today. Thank you for everybody here coming on a Sunday night. I'm sure everybody has tests to study for and more homework to do. But they all chose to spend some time here to be in the Word and to lift up your name and praise. And I just pray that we can do that to the best of our abilities tonight, and that it will equip us for this week so that we can go out into our campus and be a light for you. And it's in your name we pray. Amen. You guys can go ahead and stand. Every breath, it is a gift. Every moment is a treasure. All my past and my regrets, my present and my future. Every table is a feast. Every heartbeat is an altar. Every step a mystery. I'm walking with the author. So I fix my eyes upon you. I fix my eyes upon you. I fix my eyes upon you. I fix my eyes. All praise, all praise. Heaven bent to meet us, Father, Son, and Spirit. All praise, all praise. God and man together, one with us forevermore. So in famine we will eat, in drought we'll see a downpour. So So let all our fighting cease. The Prince of Peace is conquered. So I fix my eyes upon you. I fix my eyes upon you. I fix my eyes upon you. I fix my eyes. All praise, all praise. Heaven bent to meet us, Father, Son, and Spirit. All praise, all praise. God and man together, one with us forevermore. Why should my heart grow weary? Don't be so downcast, oh my soul. You are in every moment. You are my greatest miracle. Why should my heart grow weary? Don't be so downcast, oh my soul. You are in every moment. You are my greatest miracle. Why should my heart grow weary? Don't be so downcast, oh my soul. You are in every moment. You are my greatest miracle. And all praise, all praise. Heaven bent to meet us, Father, Son, and Spirit. All praise, all praise. God and man together, one with us forevermore. Why should my heart grow weary? Don't be so downcast, oh my soul. You are in every moment. You are my greatest miracle. And why should my heart grow weary? Don't be so downcast, oh my soul. You are in every moment. You are my greatest miracle. And why should my heart grow weary? Don't be so downcast, oh my soul. You are in every moment. You are my greatest miracle. Amen. Do you feel the world is broken? We do. Do you feel the shadows deepen? We do. But do you know that all the dark won't stop the light from getting through? We do. And do you wish that you could see it all made new? We do. Is all creation groaning? It is. Is a new creation coming? It is. Is the glory of the Lord to be a light within our midst? It is. Is it good that we remind ourselves of this? It is. anyone whole? Is anyone able to break the seal and open the scroll? The Lion of Judah, who conquered the grave. He is David's root and the Lamb who died to ransom the slave. Is he worthy? Is he worthy of all blessing and honor and glory? Is he worthy of this? He is. And does the Father truly love us? He does. Does the Spirit move among us? He does. And does Jesus, our Messiah, hold forever those he loves? He does. And does our God intend to dwell again with us? He does. Is anyone worthy? Is anyone whole? Is anyone able to break the seal and open the scroll? The Lion of Judah, who conquered the grave. He is David's root and the Lamb who died to ransom the slave. From every people and tribe, from every nation and tongue, he has made us a kingdom, a priest to God, to reign with the Son. Is he worthy? Is he worthy of all blessing and honor and glory? He is. He is. He is. And is he worthy? Is he worthy of all blessing and honor and glory? Is he worthy of He is. Dear God, I just want to pray now as Pastor Scott comes up that you'll just open our hearts to hear what he has to preach to us, and that we can just listen to it, apply it, and just further your kingdom with it. And I pray this all in your name. Amen.
Great job. That was wonderful. You may be seated. Thank you so much for that. You know, that was a powerful song. I had not heard that before, and I appreciate you introducing that to me. I love it. And that's a question that you have to answer for yourself. You know, we can sing, He is worthy. We can declare He is, but you have to decide for yourself, is He worth you giving your life in service to Him? Is He worth me following Him when maybe the world and the culture is going in a different direction? Is He worthy? Is He worthy of my praise? Is He worthy of my time? Is He worthy of my prayers, my attention, my focus? Is He worthy? You have to answer that question, and I hope the answer for you is that He is. If we haven't had a chance to meet yet, I'm Scott. It's good to see you tonight. If you're new for the first time, welcome. We're so glad that you're here, and give it up for you for showing up tonight, all right? Yeah. Maybe that's a little weird that we applaud ourselves, but I'm glad that you made it a priority to be here, to be together with God's people, and start your week off right. And if you want God to bless your week, then you need to give Him the first part of your week. Any of you want God to bless your week? Obviously you do, because you're here. You made time to be here. Your parents didn't tell you to come. They didn't make you come. I mean, maybe mom was calling and like, hey, you going to church tonight? And you're like, yeah, mom, I'm going. But, I mean, maybe that didn't happen. You came because you wanted to be here, and I hope that tonight is an encouragement. Normally we would have some announcements. We'd go right into break, but I just feel like this is a holy moment where God is working, and I want to just bring you right into the message. So did everyone get a program tonight on your way in? Yes? If you didn't get one, hold your hand up. We'll get one to you. Got a couple people. So I have some people who are willing. Do we have extras? Did we run out? One. We have one more for you right up here. All right. Good to see you. Yes. I can't see too well with the lights. Who is that up there? Oh, hi, Sydney. How are you? Good to see you, Sydney. I'm glad you're here. Grab your Bibles, and I want you to go to, if you could, grab your notes as well. And the scriptures are in there, and they'll be on the screen, of course. And we're in this series called Wings Like Eagles, and our theme verse is found in the book of Isaiah, and we're looking at the story of the Wright brothers. I read this fall their biography. Very, very interesting and fascinating. And we're looking at scriptures in light of their story, but also what God can teach us in our lives. And the theme verse is found in Isaiah 40, verse 31. If you could read it out loud with me, it says, "But those who trust in the Lord will find" what kind of strength? Good. We got about 3/4 of you, so let's try the next part. Get everybody in. "They will soar high on wings like eagles." Just so happens that you guys are eagles here at Embry-Riddle, and I'm glad that you believe this and that you're wanting to live this. And so we've been talking about how we can trust in the Lord to soar to new heights. We're in week number 4, and tonight is about how to handle setbacks and success. We have dreams. You have dreams that you want to see fulfilled in your life. You have a dream of getting a degree from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. You have dreams of flying or working in aviation. Perhaps you have dreams of being an astronaut, or you have some dreams of pursuing a career in this field. And we all have dreams in our lives, but dreams stay just dreams. We learned the first week, unless we actually put our feet to the work and we get busy and do something about our dreams. I've told you that God gave you this imagination and creativity that are gifts from Him. We are being most like our Creator when we are creative. And so you have these dreams, you have this creativity, it's all flowing, but there comes a point when we must become responsible and start doing something to make our dreams happen. And then we talked about how that, sometimes in these pursuit of your dreams, you can come against all kinds of difficulties, and certainly in this story. You guys, anybody here taking pictures with the Wright Flyer out here out front? Oh, all of you, mostly, probably, right? Did you take selfies, pictures? Yeah, pretty fascinating piece of art out there. If you haven't seen it, I encourage you to go buy it and check it out. And we look at what the Wright brothers did, Orville and Wilbur, and we think, wow, that's amazing. And we see the accomplishment of their dream. Controlled flight, that they were able to not only fly, but they were able to control the flight, and they were able to do something that no one had done before them. For us, flight is something that's so familiar. You've flown on airplanes. You've flown airplanes, not just flown on them, but flown them, okay? You have been on, planes are a part of our everyday life. All of us have, it's just so familiar, but in the, early 1900s, nobody had flown. In fact, Orville and Wilbur Wright were a laughingstock. People said, there's no way these guys are going to be able to fly. There's no way. People laughed at them. They made fun of them. There were jokes cracked about them. How would you like it if in the pursuit of your dream, everyone's like, you going to get a real job? When are you going to get a real job? What are you really going to do with your future? What are you really going to do with your life? Come on, listen, this is fantasy, this is make-believe, this is fairy tale. You're never going to be able to do this. But they had these dreams given to them. And I told you that their father, Milton, he was a minister. And he encouraged them to read, not just the scriptures, but to read from a young age. And they had this dream of being able to fly. And we see the end result of their flight. We're able to be on this side of it and look back and say, wow, if only I could been there. If you'd have been there, man, you'd have wished you had some off-bug spray. They called them clouds of mosquitoes that descended on them when they were at Kitty Hawk. They had gale force winds and freezing cold rain. One time there was 75-mile-an-hour winds from either a hurricane or a tropical storm, and the shelter that they had built for their Wright Flyer the roof started to blow off, and so Orville and Wilbur go out in the middle of the storm. They get on a ladder. Orville said every time he swung the hammer, he would only hit the nail about 1 out of 4 times, and then the other 3 times he was hitting his hand because the wind was blowing the hammer around so much. You don't think about things like that. You don't think about the freezing cold, the bugs, the conditions, the wind that, many times they would get their flyer out there, and imagine 600 pounds of machine that they're carrying out there, and then the wind picks it up like it's a toy and just rolls it down the beach. Sometimes with them caught in it, one of their friends that was helping them from Kitty Hawk found himself in what could be called the first plane crash. The wind picked him up and the flyer and tossed it down the beach multiple times, and he was caught in all the wiring and all the device, and it was a wreckage that he walked away from. We don't think about all. We see this statue and this monument to them. You're at a college that trains people to be pilots and astronauts and training in aeronautics, and we see the end result. We now know what has been accomplished in all of these years, these 100+ years since then. We forget about all the setbacks. We see the successes, and we forget about the setbacks. And so tonight, I want to focus on you making it through to see your dreams accomplished, but realizing that, yes, success is a part of pursuing your dream, but also setbacks are. And I want to look at the scriptures, and I want to look in particular at a man in the scriptures that I know you're familiar with. Look at Deuteronomy 34, verses 10 through 12. Look at what it says. It says, there has never been another person in Israel like who? Moses. That's what we're talking about right now. He says, there's never been another prophet like him, whom the Lord knew how? Face to face. This is incredible. It goes on to say, the Lord sent him to perform all the miraculous signs and wonders in the land of Egypt against Pharaoh and all of his servants and his entire land. Notice verse 12, with mighty power Moses performed terrifying acts in the sight of all Israel. We read that and we're like, yeah, Moses. If only I could be like Moses. If only I could be like Charlton Heston, sporting that beard and carrying the 10 Commandments and all the glory and waving my staff and making the Red Sea part. You ever been able to part the Red Sea? Or any sea? Any body of water? Have you tried? I mean, just take a bowl of water and try to part it. I dare you this evening. Go ahead, try it. You engineers are like, okay, if I blow the fan at just the right speed, if I'm able to blow the water back, I might, we're not able to do this. And we see his success and we think, I want that. I want what he had. Man, I want that glory. I want to see what it tastes like. I want to see that kind of success. I want to see my dreams fulfilled. We dream about the glory that comes, not realizing there was a whole lot of setbacks. If you know the story of Moses, you know that Moses went through a lot. In fact, here's the very first thing. If you're taking notes, and I hope that you are, write this down. If you're going to be able to handle the setbacks and the success, you can endure the cost of sacrifice when you look at the long-term reward. Let's face it, we live in a society where we all want what we want yesterday. We don't want to wait. You have gotten accustomed to fast food. And yet we complain when the food isn't fast enough. You ever go to Chick-fil-A? Well, your Chick-fil-A down here is torn down right now, so I'm sorry about that. You either have to drive to Ormond or you have to go to Port Orange. And to get the Lord's chicken, you got to go to Chick-fil-A. But have you found what happens at every Chick-fil-A in the U.S. of A? Have you found out what happens? They now have to have not one drive-through line, but they have to have two because so many people want the Lord's chicken. And that line is wrapped around the building multiple times over. It doesn't matter what time of night or day you go there, you're going to wait for a while for the Lord's chicken. Am I right? But this is fast food, but it's not fast enough for us. If we have to wait 5 minutes, we're looking at our watch. We're like, come on, I need that, chicken tenders, that chicken sandwich. I need them waffle fries. Sorry, it's Sunday. They're closed, so you're not going to be able to get it later, okay? I know I'm whetting your appetite. But, we want it now. Listen, we can't be so eager for our dreams to be fulfilled today that we're not willing to put off and endure some setbacks to see the reward coming one day. You know, you're paying a great price to be here, both financially, your time, your energy, your brain power. Anybody feel like you're running low on brain power? You feel a little overwhelmed in your classes. You're feeling like this isn't worth it. I can't go on. I can't do this. That happens in life. It happens when we're pursuing something and you get into the grind and you forget about what one day is coming. And you have to know that, listen, I have to be willing to sacrifice and endure, looking forward to the reward. Let's look at our guy in our story tonight, Moses. I want you to see this. Look at Hebrews 11, verse 24 and 26. This is the faith chapter in Hebrews 11, and it says in verse 24, it was by faith that Moses, when he grew up, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter. Did you know he grew up in the palace in Egypt? He was the prince of Egypt. He had the best of everything. He wasn't born with a silver spoon in his mouth, but he was given a silver spoon at some point. Well, I don't know if it was a literal silver spoon, but figuratively, he had everything he wanted. Probably any toy he wanted, any tutor he needed, any advantage that he could have, any resource that he needed. You know, we forget that Moses, even though he was born a Hebrew, was rescued from the Nile River, and he was a slave, had become the son of Pharaoh's daughter. He grew up in the palace. He had every advantage, but he refuses. When he gets to an age that he's old enough to understand that this kingdom is temporary, and he sees his people, and he witnesses their suffering, he sees all that they're going through, he realizes that there is a reward that's greater than what I'm experiencing right now. And I hope that you learn this at your age, that you understand, you know that, listen, the sacrifice that you're making today will be worth the reward one day. You got to be willing to wait a little bit. You got to be willing to put up with some things. Let me go on. In verse 25, it says, notice that back to Moses, he chose to share the what? Oppression. We don't really know what that word means in our culture today. You haven't really experienced oppression until you have been a literal slave. Until you've had a slave master who's whipped you and beat you and forced you into labor of any kind. We don't really know what that word oppression is, but he sees the oppression of God's people. And notice he says he chose to share the oppression of God's people instead of, what's the next word? Enjoying the fleeting. What does that word fleeting mean? Does anybody know? Okay, it's quickly gone. It's here for a moment and then it disappears. It vanishes. Like morning dew, like the sight of your breath on a cold day. Not the sight of your breath because it's bad, but the sight of your breath on a cold day, the mist that comes out. It's that quick. It's gone. And he says, rather than enjoying the fleeting pleasures of sin, notice in verse 26, he thought it was what? Say the next word. Better to suffer for the sake of Christ than to own the treasures of Egypt, for he was looking ahead to his great reward. Are you looking ahead to that great reward? You know, it's not just about your education and your career and your goals that you have in life, you know, that you want to have, you know, girls, you want to have a really good-looking guy to be your husband, and you want to have 2 babies and a dog named Spot and live in an amazing house and drive an incredible car. No, it's not just about that. Guys, it's not just about you getting, you know, the wife that you would consider a trophy wife and having, you know, we only want one kid, right? And then we're not going to have a dog named Spot. His name's going to be Brutus. And, you know, and we're going to live in the woods. Where? In the woods. And we're going to hunt all the time and fish, you know, or whatever. We have these dreams, not just for our careers, but for our lives, and we forget that, you know what, listen, in order to reach the dreams and see them fulfilled, there's a whole lot of sacrifice that comes on the way there. To the Wright brothers, you know, we think about the glory, and yet for 4 years they experimented, they tried. They tried with a glider to start with to see if they could actually get off the ground, let alone control the flight. They studied for hours on end birds to see how birds navigated the winds and how they were able to take off and land and all of these things. They tried gliding, many times ending in crashes, sometimes them getting hurt. They dealt with all kinds of setbacks and sicknesses. And in the meantime, they're running a business. They have a bicycle shop back in Dayton, Ohio that they're trying to keep going. And they get the word when they're in Kitty Hawk that the guy that they hired to run the bicycle shop, their sister had to let go because he was a bum. and so they've got the worries of their business. They're developing bicycles. They're trying to learn how to fly. And they go back, and this happens for 4 years before they actually ever make a sustained flight. The sustained flight being 59 seconds and 800 some feet. Before that ever happens, can you imagine 4 years? You're like, no, today, we want it today. No, that's not the way it works. On the way to pursuing your dreams, there are all kinds of setbacks. When they learned about their gliders and they learned that the calculations that they had from guys like Octave Chanute and Otto Lilienthal and these other people, their calculations that they were going off of, they realized that they weren't correct, that they had been guessing at best at some of these things. And so they go back and they create a wind tunnel and they take little hacksaw blades and they hammer them into thin sheets so that they can experiment with how the winds need to be curved and formed in order to catch the waves. And we don't see the hours upon hours of study and work and time and energy and effort that goes in. We have to be willing to sacrifice. The truth is, even in your life, if you want to accomplish something great spiritually, I mean, what does it matter really if you gain the whole world and you lose your own soul? You want to accomplish something great for God. Moses' reward wasn't a physical reward. Moses' reward wasn't a temporary reward. He was looking up to a reward that was eternal, to a kingdom that was unshakable. He was looking to a God who can't be seen. He was trusting in him, and his reward was spiritual. And I wonder, even if you accomplish the highest height of achievement in your career, what have you left that's tangible eternally? That's measurable by God? What kind of impact have you had on the lives of other people that you could say it's going to long outlive me? What are you doing for God's church? What are you doing for God's kingdom? What are you doing to reach your classmates? What are you doing to reach the lost? His reward was an eternal one. It leads me to the next point, and that's this. And if you want to write this down, you can overcome fears and keep going through difficulties when you fix your eyes on the Lord. Angela, you didn't know when you picked that song, but that line in that first song about fixing our eyes upon Him. What a truth. I mean, it's easy for us to look at all the difficulties and the problems and the setbacks and want to give up. Have you ever wanted to give up? Have you ever given up? Yeah. If I could tell the story, Jason's son, Asher, he runs on my track team. I coach, if you don't know, I coach 3-year-olds all the way up to 8th graders. And they're a fun bunch. We have almost 100 kids on our team, and we had a track meet yesterday. Well, Asher is like his daddy. He likes to win. In fact, his first track meet that he ran back in December, he won the race, and boy, he was just beaming. He had that ribbon, and he was just smiling with one tooth missing in the middle. He's just smiling so big. He was so happy. Well, yesterday, I put him in a race with the middle of the pack, with kids that were a little bit older than him and a little faster than him. And before he got to the finish line, he was in last place, and he was in tears. He was crying, and he was running, and he got so upset. He actually ran faster when he ran away from me. I said, Asher, I was trying to comfort him and put things in perspective. And I said, come here. He took off quicker than he did when he ran in the race. And I wanted him to understand that, listen, sure, you faced some difficulty. You lost the race. But I was going to tell him, when you run with faster people, you get faster. I was trying to put things, but in his little 6-year-old mind, he couldn't comprehend. All he knew was he lost the race, and he was leaving. He was getting out of there. But we all are like that sometimes, aren't we? We face difficulty. Maybe you fail a class. You plummet. Your grade plummets. You're struggling a subject. Things aren't going your way with your lab partners. You're not getting the project done in time, not by the deadline for sure. You're wondering if this semester is just going to be a wash. We have all kinds of things where we find ourselves at the back of the pack. We're losing the race. We're crying before we get to the finish line. Maybe not physically, but we're crying. And we're saying, I just want to give up. But let me tell you something. You can overcome when you fix your eyes on the Lord. Look at the scriptures here. Look what Moses did. Because do you think Moses, we see Moses in this description of him at the end of his life and how amazing he was, but we forget about that Moses had a stuttering problem. Like he meets God and has this encounter with God in the desert. And we see that Egypt, when he left Egypt, he was a prince. But when he left, he was fleeing for his life because he tried to stand up for one of his Hebrews, one of his brothers that he saw was being oppressed, and he kills the slave master and buries him in the sand. And then the next day when he goes and he finds a couple of Hebrews fighting among themselves, he tries to stop them and say, "What are you doing?" And then one of them says, "What, are you going to kill me like you did the slave master?" And immediately his heart sinks. Immediately he knows, I've been found out. He flees. And while he spent 40 years of his life being a somebody in the world's eyes, he spent the next 40 years on the backside of a desert being just a shepherd that nobody knew. He lived in total obscurity until he was almost 80 years old. You think that's a setback? I'd say so. Like if you're 80 and you haven't accomplished any of your dreams, do you even want to live? I mean, he's 80 years old. He was a prince in Egypt. He stood up for God's people. He killed someone in his anger, and he flees to the desert, and he's a nobody. He's watching over sheep, and he's just nobody. No one will ever know him or remember him, and yet he comes across a bush that's on fire, and it's burning, but it's not burning. It's a little weird. You ever see something on fire? You're calling 911, right? Because somebody needs to put this out. But this bush is on fire, but it's not burning up. And he realizes it's God speaking to him, and God says, "You're my guy." And Moses is looking around like, "Who, me?" "Yeah, you." He says, "I want you to go to Pharaoh and tell him to let my people go." Okay. And he has all these reasons why he can't do it. He's thinking about all of the difficulties, not realizing that God, listen, is with him. And it's not his power, it's God's power in him. And can I just encourage you that it's not your power, it's God's power in you. It's not your intelligence, it's God's intelligence in you. It's not your wisdom, it's God's wisdom in you. It's not your ability, it's God's ability that he's given to you on loan. You need to realize that he is with you, and you need to look up to the one who gave you the opportunity that you have, that gave you the gifts that you have, that gave you the experiences that you have, the desire, the drive. He gave it to you. God did. And you need to fix your eyes on him. Notice it says in Hebrews 11, verse 27, it was by faith that Moses left the land of Egypt, not fearing the king's anger. He kept right on doing what? He kept on going. Why? Because he kept his eyes on the one who is invisible. When you face setbacks, and you will face setbacks. Anybody face setbacks already this semester? Okay. When you face setbacks, I urge you to look up. Talk to God about it. God, what's going on? I don't know. Maybe he'll reveal to you that, you haven't been as responsible as you should be. You've procrastinated a little too much on your work. You probably ought to do your assignment instead of going out and hanging out with your friends. Or he may reveal to you that, you need to get a tutor. You need to go to your professor and get help. You need to take extra time in this subject. You need to do whatever. Look up. Look up to the one who is invisible that can help you with the visible. Look up to the heavens. And then look at this last thing. Not only did he look up to the one who's invisible, but if you're going to overcome setbacks to see success, your faith in the Lord can see you successfully through the most difficult of setbacks. You need to have faith. You need to have trust in God, not just looking up to him, not just crying out to him, not just praying before your physics test, not just praying when you're in need, not just looking to him and expecting him to, but trusting in him. Trusting him to see you through the difficulties. There's a great psalm that we all are familiar with called Psalm 23, and it says, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil." Why? For you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me, even in the presence of my enemies. My cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Look at Hebrews 3, verses 1 through 5. It says it was by faith that Moses, not Hebrews 3, Hebrews 11, 28. It says it was by faith that Moses commanded the people of Israel to keep the Passover and to sprinkle blood on the doorposts so that the angel of what? Angel of death. Not a guy that you want to hang out with. Hey, y'all want to go hang out with the angel of death? No thanks, I'm good. The angel of death would not kill their firstborn sons. Notice in verse 29, it was by faith that the people of Israel went right through the Red Sea as though they were on dry ground. Hey guys, let's go out to the Atlantic and let's try to walk across on dry ground. No, thanks, I'm good. I mean, these are the things that he did. But he went through the most difficult of these circumstances by faith. We're told over and over, it was by faith that Moses did this. It was by trusting God. It was by putting his faith in God, not in himself. And it says that, listen, when the Egyptians tried to follow, they were all drowned. You know, we're told in Hebrews 11:6 that without faith, it is, do you know the next word? Impossible to please God. Without faith, you can't please God. You can try to please him any other way, but you will not please God without faith. You have to trust. Well, what if I don't have it all figured out? I got this 5-year plan, and I don't know how it's all going to accomplish. Listen, you can make the best of plans, but the Lord directs your steps. The Lord's the one that orders your steps. And so you need to trust that even when things don't go according to your plan, that God is still in control, and he is still on the throne, and that he's going to bring some good out of it that you never even saw. Do you believe he's able to do more than you could ever ask or imagine? Do you believe that? I hope so, because he can. Look at this, Hebrews 3, verses 1 through 5. It says, "And so, dear brothers and sisters who belong to God and are partners with those called to where? To heaven. Think carefully about this Jesus, whom we declare to be God's messenger and high priest." By the way, Moses, when he was writing Deuteronomy, said that there's a prophet who's coming after me that you need to listen to. And this is the prophet that the book of the writer of Hebrews is talking about. In verse number 2, it says, "For he was," say the next word, "faithful to God, who appointed him, just as Moses served faithfully when he was entrusted with God's entire house." But notice verse 3 says, "But Jesus deserves far more glory than Moses. Just as a person who builds a house deserves more praise than the house itself. For every house has a builder, but the one who built everything is God." Moses was certainly faithful in God's house as a servant. His work was an illustration of the truths God would reveal later. But say this with me, but Christ as the Son is in charge of God's entire house, and we are God's house if we keep our courage and remain confident in our hope in Christ. You're God's house. God doesn't live in a building. He doesn't live in a tabernacle or a temple or some fancy big church. You know where he lives? He lives in you by faith. You're a dwelling place, and so now everywhere you go, God goes. He is present in your life, and you have to learn to trust him. What did Paul urge us to do? He said we walk by faith and not by sight. Are you going to have it all figured out? No. Do you know what's coming this semester? Not really. You think you do. You don't know what's coming this year. But you need to trust that God works all things for good to those who love him and are called according to his purpose. Do you believe that? I hope so. I hope that you learn to trust him in all things and in all circumstances. And one day you're going to see a reward. You're going to see success. We see Moses and we think about his glory at the end of his life, but we forget about all of the highs and lows of his life, especially the lows. Imagine leading 1,000,000-something people through the wilderness. And what was a 2-week journey from Egypt to the Promised Land ends up taking them 40 years. No, they didn't get lost because your dad was driving in the car and your mom's screaming, "You're lost again, aren't you?" No, that's not what happened. You see, they got to the edge of the Promised Land and they didn't have faith that God would deliver it. And because they were faithless, God said, all right, you will wander in the wilderness and your children will be the only ones that will get to enter the Promised Land. And so Moses had to deal with these complainers and bellyachers for 40 years. So much so that he lost his own privilege to go in the Promised Land. I mean, he saw manna from heaven for them. He brought water from a rock. He saw God provide for them. Their shoes didn't wear out. Their clothes didn't wear out. They didn't get blisters. They didn't get sunburned. But you know what? These people complained and complained and complained. So much so that God was ready to wipe them all out, and Moses cried out on their behalf and said, "No, please don't do this for your name's sake." But he got so angry with them one time that he was supposed to speak to the rock to get water to come out. Instead, he struck it multiple times. And God said, all right, that's not what I told you to do. But yet we see these setbacks and we forget about them when we look at the success. And what am I saying? What I'm saying is it doesn't matter if it's the Wright brothers, doesn't matter if it's Moses, doesn't matter if it's you in the year 2023. How many of you want to be successful? Just show of hands. If your hand isn't up, you're either sleeping, you're not listening, or you really don't care. You want to be successful. We all want to be successful, but are you willing to pay the price to see success? Are you willing to allow God walk with you through the setbacks and teach you the things you need to learn in order to really enjoy the success he's going to give you? I hope so. Would you pray with me? God, help us. Help us to look to you. Help us to trust in you. Help us to have faith in you, God, to do what we cannot. You've blessed us. You've gifted these young people. You've given them intelligence, opportunity, experiences. You have so enabled them with gifts. You've called them to this place. They maybe came looking for a degree, but you brought them into a family, a faith family here, where they can know you more, follow you greater, draw closer to you, and grow in their faith. So I pray that you'd bless them, that you'd help them, God, to not just have their eyes on the success and not be willing to make the sacrifice. I pray that you'd help them through the setbacks, that you would guide them, that you'd be with them. God, that you would, as you helped Moses, help them to trust you as Moses trusted you. That as Orville and Wilbur Wright saw great success because they used the intelligence, the ingenuity, the creativity, and the work ethic to see something succeed over many long, hard hours and years. Bless these students, God, I pray, in Jesus' name. Amen. Before we sing, I have a friend that some of you know that shared a video with us about this very topic, and I want you to turn your attention to the screen, and then we're going to sing, and then we're going to come back up. I will, and now we have some announcements, and I have some things. If you text me, I love to give out gifts. I have some Wright flyers here, and I'd love to give that out to somebody, so I need you to text me. If you haven't texted me already, my number's on the screen. I expect there's probably 70 of you here, so I expect 70 text messages, all right? Let's go ahead and check out the screen if you could and listen to my friend who knows what it's like to be in your place.
All right, how's it going, everybody? Hope this semester's starting off well so far. It's good to be talking to you. My wife and I miss our friends and our church family back in Daytona Beach and being at Launch and being at Riddle, but we're loving it out here in Washington State, and we're excited to see what God's been doing so far in our lives. If we haven't met, my name's Henry. I had the privilege of getting to serve and attend Launch for the past 6 years or so while I was at Riddle for my undergrad and graduate studies, which I'm continuing now. But I kind of stuck around long enough there to become the old timer, so Pastor Scott asked me to kind of provide a personal testimony from my time at Riddle and specifically talk about how God has kind of helped me handle the setbacks and successes of being at school. And when he asked this, there were two verses that kind of immediately came to mind: Colossians 3:23-24 and Philippians 4:6-7. These are verses that I learned kind of very early and clung to during my academic career, and I still go back to very, very often, and they kind of help me get through the highs and lows of just being at college. And so, just behold the wisdom of this wise old sage. But the first verse that I wanted to share is from Colossians 3:23-24, and it says, "Whatever you do, work heartily as for the Lord and not for men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive the inheritance as your reward. You are serving the Lord Christ." And I think Riddle is kind of a unique place because there's a lot of ambition there. Everybody wants to be there for a particular reason, and everybody knows what they're trying to do. For the most part, it's okay if you don't. But I'd kind of include myself in that first group there. And so in that verse, I've always been very encouraged to push myself and to kind of be the best that I can be and to work hard in the passions and the areas that God has really called me to. But, with that, God doesn't promise that we're going to find success in everything that we do. But I know that when I have found success, I can thank God for the opportunities and the abilities and the blessings that he has given me, because everything that I have comes from him. So I strive to accept the victories with as much humility as possible, just because to do otherwise would be foolish, right? But of course, not everything in life goes the way that we necessarily want it, and that can be a problem for me in particular because I don't like to lose, right? And I'm sure that's the case with a lot of the other people there. I know that to be true back at Riddle. And so oftentimes when I encounter setbacks and failures like that, I just get encumbered with anxiety, with, am I good enough? Have I done enough? And I just get frustrated, right? And so that's when I turn to Philippians 4, which says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." Right? Because God has a plan. He knows what I want, but more importantly, he knows what he wants. And so it's easy to get frustrated when those things don't, align. But in the midst of those setbacks, that's when we need to trust him and submit our requests to him and to be thankful for who he is and for the work that he's doing in our lives. Because God doesn't fail, right? And if we pursue him and submit to his authority, then he will use us in the best way that he sees fit. And there's no greater calling than to pursue God's will and his purpose for our lives. And so that's kind of my 2 cents. Colossians 3:23-24 and Philippians 4:6-7. Those are verses that really impacted my time at Riddle and helped me handle the failures and successes while I was there. So yeah, it was good to talk to you guys. Emily and I miss you all a lot. Hopefully get a chance to go back and see you all soon. See ya.
Alrighty. Whoop. Mike's. All right, cool. All right, we can go ahead and stand up here. And in this song we're about to sing, it's called Good Grace. I just want you guys to focus in on the chorus, those lyrics. It just talks about kind of what Henry was just going over about not letting your fears and your anxieties weigh you down, and to just give it to the Lord because he's already won it all. So let's sing. People come to together, strange as neighbors. Our blood is one, children of generations, of every nation, of kingdom come. And don't let your heart be troubled. Hold your head up high, don't fear no evil. Fix your eyes on this one truth: God is madly in love with you. So take courage, hold on, be strong. Remember where our help comes from. Amen.
Can I pray?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so, hey God, thank you for welcoming me back into our YouTube channel. And I just feel called to pray tonight pour a lot of wisdom and a lot of strength, as I feel that there is a lot of adversity in this room, and I just want to put the reminder out there that we are fighting a battle that you have already won. You are capable of so many things, and that includes holding us through every single second of our lives, whether it is in our homework, in our tests, in familial situations, and friendships, and relationships. There is nothing that is not going according to your will, and there is nothing that is outside of your control. And I hope that we can find peace in that tonight. And I pray for the food, that you may bless it, and it could be good to our bodies, that you can keep our bodies working for your service. And I love you, and in your name I pray. Amen.
Gathered with tonight, okay? And let's just practice it, all right? 5-10 minutes, we can do it. So I did want to mention that we've got a couple things coming up. FCA happens every Thursday night. If you have not yet been a part of FCA, I hope that you'll come. They meet in the Center for Faith and Spirituality. Big, long, fancy name, little building right here, okay? And, but yeah, it's where you can gather on Thursday nights, 6:15, pizza, okay, is served, and just a great time together. So we encourage you to go to that. Also, if you're interested, we have services for you all weekend, not just this service, but if you want more, we're doing a different series on Sunday morning, and it's a series called New that we're almost to the end of, but we have a service that meets typically outdoors under the oak trees in Port Orange. It's a beautiful experience. If you've never, who has been there before? How many of you have been? Great. If you haven't been, I urge you to come. Our church is so cool. It's outdoors without walls under these beautiful oaks, and it's 11 o'clock on Sunday mornings, and today we didn't meet because of the rain threat, but we're typically there on Sunday. So if you want, poor Caitlin, I forgot to give her the word, and she showed up and was sitting out there texting, where is everybody? She thought the rapture had happened, I think, but the rapture didn't happen. We just didn't have church there because of the rain threat. So sorry again, Caitlin, for that. So I hope you'll forgive me. Okay, good. Now I've totally embarrassed her, and she's turning several shades of red. So don't look her way, okay? Look back my way. So anyways, we have something called One Purpose that's coming up. Do we have a date for that yet? To be determined. Around spring break, okay? It's a great event, and I hope that you will keep your ears open for that and get involved when it comes. It's a local, on-campus event where we bring together all the Christian groups on campus, and there's praise and a message. It's just a great time together. You have to know that, listen, what's happening spiritually on this campus has been an answer to the prayers of professors and staff members and students for many years, long before we ever came around. We've been here since 2015, but long before that, professors and people have prayed for you and prayed that you would not only find Jesus and trust in Jesus, but follow him passionately with all that you have in you. And so I'm excited about that. One Purpose. Passion is happening in 2024. It's going to be January 3rd through the 5th in Atlanta. It's going to be back in the Mercedes-Benz Arena. We already have 30 tickets, and if you want to reserve your spot, you can do so. We would love for you to go. We took a group of, I think there was 33 of us, 32 of us this year. We're probably going to have a group of 50 that will go this year, and so if you're interested, Evan was there with me. Who else went with us to Passion 2023? Caitlin, Jessica, anybody else that was in the room here? Okay, yeah, Emily, Heather. Hi, Heather. How are you? So yeah, I hope that you'll plan on going. I know it's a ways off, but it's not too early to begin thinking about that. All right. So I hope that you'll get involved. And is there any other announcements that we need to make? Kind of buying time, helping their fasting to go a little quicker. Yeah. So here's what we're gonna do. Like I said, don't rush out. The food is coming, and if you have to go, you've got studies to do or whatever. We understand. You can slip out quietly, but we do want you to take a few minutes to pray for someone, with someone, and let's do that. So let's start off with something easy. Just get up out of your seats and find somebody you don't know and ask their name. Start there, okay? You can say, "Hi, my name is." This is for those of you that are introverted that don't like to talk, okay? "Hi, my name is," and then you fill in the blank with whatever name you want, all right? Go ahead, get up, show yourself friendly, take a few minutes to